Hello and welcome to the Phantom Tollbooth novel study. This is Chapter 1. But before we even get into Chapter 1, we haven't really talked about the title, The Phantom Tollbooth. Do you know what a phantom is? A phantom is a ghost, or the second definition, the one we're using here, is a figment of the imagination. So something that is maybe not necessarily real, but created or made real by the imagination. That's phantom. And toll booth is, well, you're driving along the highway with your parents. They have to stop either to put money in, to continue on the road, or they go through the easy pass. But either way, that thing where all the cars go through is called a toll booth because you pay a toll, and that money goes to help fix the roads, allegedly. The Phantom Tollbooth. I would like you to go straight to Chapter 1, and you'll notice the Chapter 1 is titled Milo. And Milo is our main character. Now, the thing about Milo is that he's what we would call the everyman. Milo is you, and Milo is me. Not all the time, but there are times when we have been a Milo. And so as you read this, I want you to try to identify with Milo. Okay, ready? You are reading along as I am reading out loud. And you can pause to take notes as you need to. Chapter 1, Milo. There once was a boy named Milo who didn't know what to do with himself. Not just sometimes, but always. When he was in school, he longed to be out, and when he was out, he longed to be in. On the way, he thought about coming home, and coming home, he thought about going. Wherever he was, he wished he were somewhere else, and when he got there, he wondered why he'd bothered. Nothing really interested him, least of all, the things that should have. It seems to me that almost everything is a waste of time, he remarked one day as he walked dejectedly home from school. Now let's pause at that vocabulary word, dejectedly. Well, it ends with an ly, so it's an adverb. That means it describes an action. So the way he's walking home is, in a word, sadly. His head's down. He's dejected. He's walking sadly and in a depressed manner. I can't see the point in learning to solve useless problems, or subtracting turnips from turnips, or knowing where Ethiopia is, it's in Africa, or how to spell February. And I notice, if you look at February, you'll notice there's an R after the B. And that's my birth month, so I want you to make sure, because I know a lot of people spell it February. It's not February, it's February. And since no one bothered to explain otherwise, he regarded the process of seeking knowledge as the greatest waste of time of all. Before you even turn the page, I keep forgetting that you don't have a physical book, but if you do, don't turn the page yet, don't scroll down. Think about this. How many times have you thought that learning in school is a complete waste of time and that there's no point in knowing all of this useless information? All right, let's continue. You see the picture there of Milo walking dejectedly home, and there's a bird above his head. Look at that facial expression on him. He's sad. You can tell by the frown and the worried look in his eyes. Okay. As he and his unhappy thoughts hurried along, for while he was never anxious to be where he was going, he liked to get there as quickly as possible. You know, anxious, that's when you're nervous or excited, or both. It seemed a great wonder that the world, which was so large, could sometimes feel so small and empty. And worst of all, he continued sadly, there's nothing for me to do, nowhere I'd care to go, and hardly anything worth seeing. He punctuated this last thought with such a deep sigh that a house sparrow singing nearby stopped and rushed home to be with his family. Without stopping or looking up, he rushed past the buildings and busy shops that lined the street, and in a few minutes reached home, dashed through the lobby, hopped onto the elevator, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and off again, opened the apartment door, rushed into his room, flopped dejectedly into a chair, and grumbled softly, "Another long afternoon." Now, Milo clearly is not interested in anything. And I want you to think about how many times that you've gone to and from school or anywhere else not paying attention to anything around you. Nothing seems interesting to you. Just head into the device. How many times have you felt anxious to go somewhere and then when you got there, didn't want to be there anymore? This is how Milo feels. He's just not interested in anything around him. He looked glumly at all the things he owned, the books that were too much trouble to read, the tools he'd never learned to use, the small electric automobile he hadn't driven in months, or was it years, and the hundreds of other games and toys and bats and balls and bits and pieces scattered around him. And then, to one side of the room, just next to the phonograph, he noticed something he had certainly never seen before. Before we find out what it is, let's look at the word phonograph. And if you think of the etymology of that word, you have two parts, phono and graph. Both are Greek roots. Phono means sound and graph means write, to write sound. Well, what does that actually mean? It's a record player. And when I say a record player, I mean those old big black round discs made of vinyl that people used to play, that my parents used to play on their turntables. So that's how old this book is that Milo has a phonograph in his room. He doesn't have a Bluetooth speaker. And he clearly, certainly does not have any internet or any electronic devices. Not in 1961 when this book was written. So imagine how bored he must feel. And imagine how bored you feel when you look around your room and you see all of your toys and all of that stuff that you've gotten, but like you don't feel like playing with any of it. That's how Milo feels. Okay, so he finds this mysterious package. Let's read about it. Who could possibly have left such an enormous, which of course means large, very large package, and such a strange one? For while it was not quite square, it was definitely not round, and for its size, it was larger than almost any other big package of smaller dimension that he'd ever seen. The word dimension is a good word. It just means how big it is, what its size is and what its length, its width, its height. That's what we mean by dimensions. Attached to one side was a bright blue envelope which said simply, "For Milo, who has plenty of time." Of course, if you've ever gotten a surprise package, you can imagine how puzzled and excited Milo was. And if you've never gotten one, pay close attention, because someday you might. "I don't think it's my birthday," he puzzled, "and Christmas must be months away, and I haven't been outstandingly good, or even good at all." He had to admit this, even to himself. "Most probably I won't like it anyway, but since I don't know where it came from, I can't possibly send it back." He thought about it for quite a while, and then opened the envelope, but just to be polite. "One genuine turnpike Tollbooth," it stated. Now look at that word genuine. That's a vocabulary word. Something that's genuine means that it's real, it's unique. "Easily assembled at home and for use by those who have never traveled in lands beyond." Beyond what? Thought Milo as he continued to read. "This package contains the following items. 1. Genuine turnpike toll booth to be erected according to directions." Erected means to be made or to be put up, to be erected. Like when they make a building, They say the building is erected. 3. Precautionary signs to be used in a precautionary fashion. Assorted coins for use in paying tolls. 1. Map, up to date and carefully drawn by master cartographers, depicting natural and man-made features. There's another vocabulary word, cartographers. A cartographer is a person who makes maps. And then the word right after that, depicting, means showing. So, finally, 1. Book of rules and traffic regulations which may not be bent or broken. And in smaller letters at the bottom, it concluded, results are not guaranteed, but if not perfectly satisfied, your wasted time will be refunded. I think you know what that word means. Refunded means your wasted time will be given back to you. They're saying that if you're not completely satisfied, we're going to give your wasted time back to you. We're going to refund it. Following the instructions, which told him to cut here, lift there, and fold back all around, he soon had the toll booth unpacked and set up on its stand. He fitted the windows in place and attached to the roof, which extended out on both sides and fastened on the coin box. It was very much like the toll booths he'd seen many times on family trips, except, of course, it was much smaller and purple. What a strange present, he thought to himself. The least they could have done was to send a highway with it, for it's terribly impractical, which means not practical, without one. But since, at this time, there was nothing else he wanted to play with, he set up the 3 signs. Slow down approaching toll booth. Please have your fare ready. Have your destination in mind. Go back to the word fare, F-A-R-E. That means money. Please have your fare ready. Your fare is your money, F-A-R-E, not the other one, F-A-I-R, where, oh, life isn't fair. So they're homophones. They're words that are spelled differently but sound the same. In this case, we mean fare as in your money, F-A-R-E. And he slowly unfolded the map. As the announcement stated, it was a beautiful map in many colors, showing principal roads, rivers and seas, towns and cities, mountains and valleys, intersections and detours, and sites of outstanding interest, both beautiful and historic. The only trouble was that Milo had never heard of any of the places it indicated, and even the names sounded most peculiar. I don't think there really is such a country, he concluded after studying it carefully. Well, it doesn't matter anyway, and he closed his eyes and poked a finger at the map. Dictionopolis, read Milo slowly when he saw what his finger had chosen. Oh well, I might as well go there as anywhere. He walked across the room and dusted the car off carefully. Then, taking the map and rule book with him, he hopped in and, for lack of anything better to do, drove slowly up to the toll booth. As he deposited his coin and rolled past, he remarked wistfully, I do hope this is an interesting game. Otherwise, the afternoon will be so terribly dull. And that's it for Chapter 1. All you have to do now is study the vocabulary word list that is attached to the assignment, and I will see you tomorrow for the reading of Chapter 2, which, by the way, is longer, so make sure that you carve out a decent chunk of time to listen and read along to the entire chapter when things start to get interesting.